Hey foodies, and welcome back to Cooking with Kiana. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this creamy seafood stuffed lobster. It is stuffed with shrimp, scallops, and lobster meat. If you guys are interested in this recipe, keep on watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That way you could become a part of the foodie family and you do not miss new recipes. So let me go ahead and introduce these ingredients so we can get started. So these are the two lobsters that I'm going to be using today. I did pre-freeze them so they won't move as much. They are alive, and this is just so they could taste fresher. I'm also going to be using a half a pound of jumbo shrimp. And of course, you want to make sure you peel and devein that. That is very important. And then I'm also going to be using a half a pound of scallops. I'm using the sea scallops. However, you can use bay scallops if you want. And I'm also going to be using 1 cup of mayo. I like to use Hellmann's, but you can use any other brand. Just do not use Miracle Whip. You're also going to need a half a cup of cream cheese for this recipe. I like to use the whipped cream cheese because it's easier to mix together. We're also going to be using some fresh herbs. I'm going to be using about 4 sprigs of thyme, 4 cloves of garlic, and 1 shallot. You can also substitute that for a small onion if you would like. You're also going to need 3 slices of bread. This is going to help bind everything together. A half a cup of Parmesan cheese and 1 large egg. And for seasonings, I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of Old Bay seasoning. And then I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of Cajun seasoning and 1 teaspoon of onion powder. So we're going to keep the seasoning real simple for this recipe. Then I'm going to use a teaspoon of lemon juice. You can use fresh lemon if you would like. You're also going to need 1 stick of butter. This is for the butter sauce. And then you're going to need 1/4 of a cup of clam juice and 1 tablespoon of mustard. So now that we have all the ingredients, let's get started. Alright, so first we're going to start off with our lobster. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove those claws. And guys, if you guys don't like watching stuff like this, just fast forward throughout this part of the video. But I'm going to go ahead and remove those claws and we're going to set that aside because we're going to be using that for later. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and flip our lobster over on its back and cut it right down the center so it could be nice and butterflied. Make sure you guys have a sharp knife on hand. It's going to make it a lot easier. Alright, so once you're done cutting it down the center, we're going to go ahead and open that up. And as you see, it's a lot of brown, nasty stuff up in there. And we got to get rid of that. So what we're going to do right now is run your lobster under some cold water. That will loosen up some of those guts and all that nasty stuff in there. Also go in with your fingers and just scrape all of that out. And make sure you wash that thoroughly, okay? We're going to stuff this and you don't want none of that stuff in there. Alright, so now that we got our 2 lobsters set aside and ready to stuff, what we're going to do is we're going to take those claws that I told you guys to put aside. And we're going to go in with the back of our knife. And just keep hitting that until the claws break. Once your claws break, we're going to slide that meat right out. And since it's 4 claws, you should get a decent amount of meat out of that. Alright, so once we're done with that, we're going to move on to the shrimp and the scallops. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them in 4 since our shrimp is jumbo as well as the scallops. We're going to cut these in about 4s. Remember, the bigger the shrimps and the scallops, the less you're going to be able to stuff inside of your lobster. Plus, you just don't want the pieces to be too big. So after we're done cutting everything up, we're going to move over to our skillet. I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of butter and about a half a cup of cooking wine. And we're just going to go ahead and give that a good stir on medium to high heat and let that reduce down. After that has reduced down to half, we're going to add in the garlic, the shallots, and that fresh thyme. Just make sure you slide that fresh thyme off of the stem. You don't want no stems in there. So go ahead and give that a good stir until that is nice and translucent. Now once that has become translucent, we're going to add in all of our seafood. Alright, so we're also going to take that seasoning, mix that all together, and we're only going to add half of it to our seafood. Save the other half. Don't add all of that in at once. Now just go ahead and give everything a good stir. Remember, we're not trying to cook this seafood all the way because we are going to cook this in the oven when it turns into a stuffing. So don't cook it all the way, only cook it halfway. Once it looks like this, we're going to go ahead and turn off our fire, and we're going to let that cool down so we can make our stuffing. So in a separate bowl, you're going to add in 1 large egg, and we're going to add in that cup of mayo. Then you're going to go in with your whisk and mix that all together until that is a nice smooth consistency. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and add in a 1/2 cup of that cream cheese, and what that's going to do is that's going to make this stuffing nice and creamy. Then we're going to go ahead and add in those 3 slices of bread. You know, that's going to help bind everything together. And then we're going to go ahead and add in a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, as well as 1/4 cup of clam juice, 1 tablespoon of mustard, and of course we can't forget to add in that seafood. Go ahead and give everything a good stir. Make sure that is well combined. If you guys are still here watching this video with me and you guys are enjoying this recipe, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comment section. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the remainder of that seasoning that we had left over. And we're going to go ahead and mix that all together. Make sure everything is well combined, and then we're going to set that aside. Just look at those chunks of lobster and shrimp in there. Alright, so in a separate bowl, we're going to go ahead and make a butter sauce. So I added in 1 stick of butter, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, and I added in about a teaspoon of herbs de Provence, but you can substitute this for Italian seasoning. Go ahead and stir everything together. Taste it. You might want to add a little bit of garlic salt, so season that butter to taste. And we're going to go ahead and brush that onto the meat of our lobster. What this is going to do is give that lobster meat a lot of flavor without having to make it salty, and we won't have to compromise that natural sweet taste from the lobster. So just go ahead and brush that on as generously as you need to. And then we're going to go ahead and add that stuffing. And what I like to do is I like to stuff that on top and make it nice and big. This is one of those meals that you're going to eat for dinner. And this in itself is literally a meal. You got everything besides the vegetable. And lastly, I'm just going to go ahead and top it with some more Old Bay seasoning. You can use paprika, but I just like the kick that Old Bay gives seafood. So we're going to go ahead and pop this in the oven on 425 for about 20 to 25 minutes. However, this is seafood, so you might want to eyeball it depending on how big or how little your lobster is. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and check on this lobster. As you can see, it looks about done. So let's go ahead and take that out the oven. And now we're just going to go ahead and hit it with a little bit of parsley just for decoration. And boom, you got creamy seafood stuffed pasta. Just look at that. Let me go ahead and get me a spoonful and just look at that cheese pool. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. It was absolutely delicious. If you guys want to make this at home, be sure to check the description box below. The full recipe will be posted there. When you guys do make this recipe, be sure to leave a comment below letting me know how it comes out. Yes, I do read all your comments and I do appreciate them. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.